Hello, my friends, and welcome to the latest spin. I'm Mike Spinner, Student Athlete World USA, coming at you on the unofficial start of a holiday weekend. Does it get better than this? This is like the pinnacle of pre summer excitement. Memorial Day is upon us. It's great to be here. I always look forward to hosting this on Thursday nights because it really is like the unofficial start of a weekend. And from the student athlete world perspective, I'm especially excited about this weekend because I'm going to be running into some dark magic. God, am I awful at this, Tim? I don't know why you have me keep doing these videos, man. I just blew it, but I'm gonna jump right back on that horse. I'm gonna have the chance this weekend to run into some student athlete world travelers as Dark Magic Hockey, which is the official facilitator of Student Athlete World Ice Hockey, has their first tournament of the summer this weekend down in the Philly area. So I'll be heading down there this weekend with my own child to cheer him on and meet up with Dark Magic / Student Athlete World USA. Our ice hockey group had their team meetings last night, and they were awesome. They're ready for United World Games. They're going to be even more ready after this weekend because most, if not all of them, are going to play at this amazing tournament in Pennsylvania. And I'll be there as well, sporting Student Athlete World gear because we are already filling roster spots for United World Games 2026 ice hockey. And our hope is to have an even bigger group. So it's exciting for me to run into some Student Athlete World people. Hopefully they'll be excited as well. But yeah, best of luck, Dark Magic Hockey this weekend. So now here we are, mere weeks away from tour number one. The Pyrenees Basketball Cup tour is going out pretty soon. So I'm getting a lot of questions like last minute preparations. Like, what are the things I should be doing in the final days? And there's a lot to do. And we certainly on your personal application page in the trip section, that whole left-hand column, you'll find checklists and things like that, which you should go through. But certain things that I know I try to make sure to do in my final days before the tour. One is make sure you have international cell phone service. One mistake that I've observed a few times on tours, not too often, is people who just think that their cell phones will work anywhere in the world, and that's just not, as far as I know, that's not the case. Call your provider. If your goal is to have international cell phone service, I know I'm a Verizon customer. It's like $10 a day, but it's so worth it to stay connected to your world. And most of us, like myself, like I'm going to document my tour on my social media. I'm sure many of you will be doing that as well. So make sure that either A, you have international cell phone service, or B, there's a SIM card possibility, other ways that your cell phone will work during your tour. Just make sure wherever you're going, for Pyrenees Basketball Cup, you'll be in Spain and in France. So just make sure that your cell phones will work there. Another piece of advice, see if you have a credit card that works where you're going. So I have a credit card that I know works anywhere I go in Europe. And it just makes life so much easier to have a functioning credit card. I know for my three tours that I've done with Student Athlete World, I have a credit card that has been accepted in literally 98% of the places that I could possibly spend money. I carry around some euros, not a whole lot, which I'm going to do this year, but I'm going to rely on that credit card. You actually get a better exchange rate because there's no fees. So the credit card is the cheapest option in terms of exchange. Call your credit card companies and make sure or see if you are covered where your tour is going to. Not every credit card company does. I have credit cards that I cannot use internationally, but I have one that I know that I can. I also let them know I'll be spending money in Europe, so they don't think these are fraudulent charges. Might be an idea for you to do as well. The last one, as you're packing, keep an eye on the weather. All right, and true story. 2 years ago was my first tour with Student Athlete World. It was United World Games. And about maybe 2.5 weeks before the tour, I checked the long-range weather, and it looked like 70s during the day and 50s and 60s at night. Perfect tour weather, no rain. And I was like, cool, I'll need some warmer clothes, some cooler clothes for the warmer days and some warmer clothes for the cooler evenings. I thought I had everything figured out and ready to go. And I checked about a week or so later, so roughly a week before the tour, and suddenly those mid to upper 70s during the day became mid to upper 90s during the day. And those like 50s to 60s at night were really like 70s into the 80s at night. And I had to change my whole packing plan. Now, I'm not the most organized packer in the world, but suddenly I didn't pack a jacket. Everything was warm. Whether if you're going to Europe for the first time, and I say this all the time, Europeans are not all that into air conditioning the way that we are. They just deal with the heat. And it was on that tour, like in an upper 90s, like every day. So we had travelers, like everyone had shorts and t-shirts, so there were no major issues. But we had travelers on that tour who had who had planned for cooler weather, clearly. And they brought jackets and pants and stuff, and I'm not using any of that. So keep an eye on the weather, double check the weather, and check again like 48 hours before you leave just to make sure, no matter what tour you're doing. And pack accordingly. It's got to be in the upper 90s wherever you go and get into the 70s and 80s at night. You don't need a coat, unless you're from a warm climate that's cool for you. For me, I would not even think about a coat. But those are my 3 pieces of advice as we're in the home stretch before tours begin. Cell phone service, credit card, and check the weather. If you do all 3 of those things, you follow our packing list, you make sure you have everything that you're supposed to have, like passports and stuff like that, you'll be good to go. Any questions, Mike at studentathleteworld.com or 203-518-8408 is my cell. And now, what in the world? And this week's What in the World is brought to you by Cheers. Cheers is a bar in Boston. It still exists. I just checked that out. And during the 1980s, when I was a kid, the telephone. I'm having a rough night tonight, Tim. I apologize. I'm flubbing everything. I have no future in this business, Tim. I don't know why you want to keep me on board here. Cheers during the 1980s was a great, great television show about a bar in Boston named Cheers. And there actually is a bar in Boston named Cheers. Not to get into the whole plot line, but it was a sitcom. It was a lot of fun to watch. And my favorite character was Norm, who in real life was George Wendt, who passed away yesterday. So sad, George Wendt, rest in peace. I don't know if there was a more lovable character literally in television history than Norm on Cheers. I'll be honest, I had no idea what beer was until I started watching Cheers. Again, I'm an 80s kid. So my childhood was almost exclusively during the 1980s. So when you're 8 to 11, 12 years old, at least back then, you know what a beer was. But I watched this show called Cheers, mainly because I was a big baseball fan. And the main character, Ted Danson, was Sam Mayday Malone, a former Red Sox pitcher who had opened up a bar. And so cool, baseball, and made a connection with the show and ended up really enjoying it. But I always loved Norm. He had this thing where he'd walk in the bar. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Everyone would yell at Norm. He would sit in his corner stool and always have something funny to say. But he's always looking to have a beer. I had no idea what a beer was until I started watching Cheers. And so I openly admit that Cheers was part of my adulthood education because I learned what beer was thanks to Cheers. But to George Wendt, rest in peace. What a sad loss to the entertainment world, especially people like me who during the 1980s, George Wendt was just the most lovable character on television, someone who you kind of watched a show hoping that he'd get some good screen time. They always did. And he also had an iconic Saturday Night Live character, that Swirsky group, the Chicago Bears fans, the Bears. Remember that? And they'd always have like heart attacks and like slam themselves in the chest to kind of revive themselves. And he was part of that crew, which is always one of my favorite SNL skits back when I was young enough to stay awake late enough to watch Saturday Night Live. So sad that we lost George Wendt, but certainly thank you for the memory. So what in the world? So it's WNBA season. Like what a great time of year for basketball, right? You have the NBA playoffs happening, and the Knicks choked one away last night. So I don't want to go too far in depth with the NBA playoffs, other than to say, like, this Knicks Pacers series looks like a real good one. I think if the Knicks can win game two, it's going to be a classic. I think if the Pacers can leave New York up 2-0, the Knicks are in a lot of trouble. They choked last night. Like, there's no other way to say it. But this is a Knicks team that beat the defending champions. They're a resilient bunch. It's a very, very good team. It is so exciting to be a Knicks fan right now. When they were up double digits late in the fourth quarter, I was feeling real good last night. And obviously it didn't work out. And hopefully game two tomorrow will. And that's all you can really say, right? But it's also exciting in basketball because the WNBA season is off the ground. And I've said this on this show many times. The women's basketball product right now, in my opinion, is probably more entertaining than men. And I'm just because from my perspective, and I said last week, I went on a long rant last week about, I watch sports for the game. If LeBron James is playing in a basketball game or Giannis Antetokounmpo or, a big name, that's great. Like, cool, he's playing. But I want to see a good game, no matter what the sport is. If the best baseball player is Shohei Ohtani, I'm not tuning in to see him. Like, the Mets are actually about to start a series with the Dodgers. I'll watch because my Mets are playing against the Dodgers. I don't care that Shohei Ohtani is playing, whether he plays or not. I'm into the game, the team component. And from that perspective right now, I think the WNBA is a more entertaining product than the NBA. I think college women's basketball right now is a more entertaining product than college men's basketball. It's just how I feel. But we have kind of the circus sideshow with this Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese drama that developed when they played, over the weekend, a hard foul by Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, turned into some words. I don't think there's ever going to be a fight, but certainly if there was going to be one, it was there. They obviously have a long-standing personal rivalry that dated back to that NCAA championship game with this nonsense and, whatever. And, what in the world, WNBA? And here's the thing. Like, has the WNBA officially made it? The answer is no. They will make it, in my opinion, when the WNBA players are making maybe not NBA money, but enough money that the players from WNBA could just play in the WNBA and not have to play internationally and not have to play in like some of these side leagues that are popping up. When the average salary for the WNBA is in the millions, and I think those days are coming, meaning, the crowds are always full, which they're getting there, and the TV exposure is where it should be, and it's getting there. And, I think the WNBA is very much hitting its stride, but they haven't reached the magnitude of the NBA yet. I don't think that there's anything controversial in that statement. It's the hard truth. But here's the thing. I'm not tuning in to watch what happens when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese go up against each other, whether or not there might be a fight. Nor should you. Nor should anybody. All right. The women's basketball as a product, okay, as a form of entertainment, as a sport, as a competition, has never been better than it is today. It is reaching a pinnacle. It is fun to watch. The team component, the athleticism, the talent, it is all where it needs to be for the WNBA to truly make the strides it needs to be a major force in the sports world. And obviously in the last few years, the WNBA has just move forward by leaps and bounds. So what it does not need is the WWE kind of component to it. Oh, are they going to punch each other? Are they going to go nose to nose? Are they going to fight? I don't care. I don't care in any sport whether or not that's going to happen. I certainly don't care about it in the WNBA. It's not a man-woman thing. I'm not tuning in for the personalities, quite frankly. I'm not tuning in for the faces. I'm tuning in for the game. All right. I'm tuning in because the product is really good. So the next game is Angel Reese going to go and clothesline Caitlin Clark, and Vince McMahon comes running out or something and, whatever. And I hope not. Like, I don't care. And I think what the WNBA kind of needs to do is really kind of zero in on the fact that sports fans like me are tuning in for other reasons than a dust-up and a hard foul and controversy. All right, save that for other sports, not this one. I think where the WNBA stands right now is it's not quite where it needs to be in terms of delivering for professional women's basketball players what other professional sports provide, but it's getting there. But it's also in this weird place where the interest in the product can go away, like any other sport. So it's almost like it's in a really good place, but it hasn't quite finished off the foundation yet, if that makes sense. And if it's going to turn into every time Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese go up against each other, it's about something other than basketball, I think it's going to turn people off. And I think that kind of foundation that hasn't fully formed yet is too fragile for something like that. So to WNBA, like what in the world, focus on the game right now. You want to get into the personalities, do it when your average player is making $5 million a year. And I don't think those days are too far away, if you ask me. Not now, though. Right now, focus on the game, the talent, the athleticism, because I think the WNBA product and women's basketball in general right now is in an awesome place. We don't need the circus sideshow stuff. Just my opinion. If you disagree, call me and talk about it. That's it for the latest spin this week. As always, great fun. And as I said last week, we are on to 2026. We have 6 basketball tours going out. We have at least 1 lacrosse tour going out, maybe 2. Some news could be coming. I'm going to wait till after my tour to discuss that further. Of course, there's ice hockey. We're going to hard push for volleyball this year and other sports as well, but there's only one way to get involved. Only one way to see the world, represent your country, and compete at the international level. Go to studentathleteworld.com, complete your application interview with me, and pack your bags. Enjoy your holiday week, every holiday. I did it again, Tim. Did it again. Flubbed it again. Enjoy your holiday weekend, everybody. And I'll see you next Thursday, where I promise a much smoother delivery. Have a great night, everyone.